and thank you for joining us today. My name is Simran, and I'm the founder of Power Women. We started this year, 2021, by launching our Personal Advisory Boards initiative. The world today needs more women, many, many more women, to reach the top and to stay there. And with the advisory boards, we are aiming to impact change at the highest levels of power. We are growing from strength to strength, and thank you to all of you for your support and for joining us today. Now, in our life, we all encounter obstacles. Over the last 2 years, even when I speak to more and more women, it resonates, and we hear about stories of obstacles and tough times. And of course, as we progress and go higher up the ranks or achieve new milestones, we will have many more to come. And it is all about building a support network around us, building a challenge network. In the personal advisory boards, we have come a long way. We have spent time on bonding, on getting to know each other on our boards. We've started evaluating and reevaluating our goals, reimagining things for us. And in 2 weeks from now, we will also be bringing on another leadership coach and a very senior executive who is based in Singapore to further guide and support us how to rethink and reimagine and also help us further with the goal setting. As we build momentum and grow, there are some days where we just want to be inspired, talk about our passions, and build resilience and follow our dreams and have the courage to follow our dreams. Many of us are looking at career transitions, thinking of following our true calling and passion. And today's guest will inspire us to do exactly that. He'll help us build our resilience, to be fearless and follow our dreams. Our guest today has had the courage to get out of her comfort zone, be brave, challenge herself. We are thrilled to have her. Another trailblazer, Hamisha Daryani Ahuja. She will share her inspirational journey with us today. Hamisha is an entrepreneur, a film producer and director, and she gave up her long-running business to pursue her dream of making films. So very moving, a very big shift in terms of her career. And many of us are aspiring to do that. So wonderful story to listen to. 2 years later, she has directed her first feature film, the cross-cultural love story, Namaste Wahala, which debuted on Netflix. Putting out hundreds of movies and television episodes a month, Nollywood is the world's second most prolific film industry after India's Bollywood. Hamisha also founded Bistro 7, a chain of restaurants in Lagos. And she ran the award-winning establishment until it was acquired in 2019. So today's session will be chaired by someone very special, Dr. Anino Emuwa, another stellar woman, another true boss lady. She's the founder and managing director of Avandis Consulting. She's an award-winning international speaker. She has been invited to speak at prestigious institutions and conferences and convenes global and regional communities of women, including the 100 Women at Davos and the Africa Women CEOs Network. She's also a coach and mentor for Cartier Women Initiative. So thank you, Dr. Anino, for your kind support. And as she leads the fireside chat, do drop in your questions in the chat box. We will have an audience Q&A led by a very special gratitude circle. And this will be chaired by our advisory board member, Tasneem Adamji, who is the CEO and founder of African Quest Safari. She's based out of Kenya. And Tasneem has dedicated over 3 decades to developing and popularizing inbound tourism in East Africa. And I thought she was a very good fit for this event. Thank you, Tasneem, for taking time out. Both of you ladies, 3 of you are very amazing. I'm super excited to listen to Hamisha.
Thank you, Simran. It's really a great delight to be here. And what a wonderful network that you have. And I think you're absolutely right. At a time like this, we need even more support for women in business and women in leadership. So it's great to be here. It's also a real delight to be here with Hamisha. Hamisha I've known for very many years. And the last time we met, Hamisha online, of course, because of COVID, was before the movie. So there's a lot to talk about. An inspirational lady, a lady who is daring, as Simran has said. But I'll go right into it because I know everyone's listening and wants to hear about you. Hamisha, so you're an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, a corporate workshop facilitator, and now a successful producer and director. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yes, thanks, Dr. Nina, for having me here. Very excited to be part of this. So my journey, where to start? I guess I'll start when I moved back to Lagos 11 years ago. I opened a restaurant, as Simran mentioned earlier, called Bistro 7. I started it as a one establishment, which I expanded into a mall and into a school. And I ran that for 7 years. And it was very exciting. I enjoyed being in the business world in Nigeria, learned a lot from it. But while I was doing that, I also started entering the self-development world. So I attended an event called A Fest. It works out to the words Awesomeness Fest. It's a group that Vishen Lakiani started. And I feel like that is what really changed my life, because what you do is you attend with 300 other business owners that are spiritually evolved and want to change the world. So going up there and seeing what people were doing at a much younger age, I started getting inspired. I also met Lisa Nichols there. She's the star of The Secret, the movie The Law of Attraction. And this all started just working in my mind. And I actually started developing my own course called The Pursuit of Happiness. So while I was running the restaurant, I also started conducting workshops on being happy. And one of the major things I advocate is following your big dreams. So I did find that while I was conducting these workshops, what was my big dream? And ever since I was a child, I always wanted to enter the movie industry. So it was time to jump. And it reached a point where after 7 years of running a restaurant, I was burnt out. I was borderline, this is not what I want to do, but I've worked so hard. What do I do about this? And it took 2 years, but I managed to get it acquired with an entertainment company. Again, a lot of synergies there. So this all happened simultaneously running the workshops. And once that restaurant was bought, I'm on the board. I don't have to operation run it anymore. I decided to jump, and I jumped really high, and I didn't expect where it would fall. I was saying, jump and let's see where it takes you. And it really took me somewhere very different, which I guess we'll get into.
Thank you, Simran. I'm sorry, I had a bit of difficulty unmuting myself. Now, Hamisha, that is already so inspiring. I think one thing with women, and we like to hear, we see these stories and we see this multitude of things that people have done successfully. But the reality is, how did it happen? And I think two things that stand out from what you've said. One is that there were certain moments in time, the conference you attended, and where you had this flash, and then there's this big vision. What did you always want to do? And then organizing yourself, right? You had this buyout and you're able to follow your vision and your dream. So I think that is really important for the women who are listening. How do you change? How do you pivot? How do you move into other things? But we'd like to hear a little bit about the story. So tell us, where did the idea of the plot of Namaste Wahala come from? This lovely intercultural rom-com.
So from the beginning, I knew it was going to be a rom-com. I love love. I always advocate that. I say that. And I'm talking love 90s style. The 90s Bollywood style was very running around trees and love at first sight. And if you've seen the movie, you'll see that happens right away. Just eye contact and the sparks and chemistry. So that was something I knew I wanted to do. Another big influence was the fact that I've grown up in Nigeria. This is home for me, in an Indian household. So these are the two closest cultures to my heart. But additionally, a lot of Nigerians, a lot of my friends, a lot of the Nollywood industry love Bollywood. So back in the day, everybody sort of had this Bollywood diet going, and they knew like the Amitabh Bachchans. I'm talking, and then they went back to the 70s. So Amitabh Bachchan, and like now it's Shah Rukh Khan and Hema Malini. These are staple names over here. So I wondered why the two hadn't come together till date, because Z cinema is a huge influence here. There's so many Z shows that come to Nigeria and get dubbed in English. And I was again wondered, how come we're not doing this in English or in Pidgin, with a little bit of Hindi? And that is really how it all started. It was just an idea in my head. And then we did some writer workshops to flesh it out. I had a few non-negotiables. So one of the things maybe we'll probably end up discussing later, given this is a women's group, is the main character had to be a woman. You know, in the 90s, in the 90s Bollywood, it was always a male that sort of led the movie, and the female was the side actress. Of course, that's changed a lot, and I love it. So those were a few things. I definitely wanted a women empowerment theme in there. So that's how we fleshed out the whole story in a writer's workshop, where it was definitely meant to be a romantic rom-com where you laugh, you have fun, but we had some hidden messages in there. And then that's how it just sort of developed into this Namaste Wahala.
Gosh, amazing. And there are a couple of points I'd like to pick out there. And one is, we talked about your pivoting, right? Or moving from one thing to another, right? Very different. But another thing is that we have to say is being a female film director, right, is extremely rare. And so you've gone into something that is really, it's a first, really. And then you talked about the story and how, interestingly enough, and something that I don't think people are very much aware of, how even in Nigeria, with the strength of our Nollywood, right, there's a lot of interest as well in Bollywood. So it came after something, you know, a little bit natural, which you developed. And I think that's really lovely. Thank you. But, you know, let's get on to a few practical things, because this is, you know, Women in Business in Leadership group. You have the idea, you have the vision, you have the drive. And it sounds like this is worth it. But let's talk about the business side. First of all, you have to raise finance for the movie. And that's one of the key things in the industry. The other thing, of course, you have to get, you know, the actors to work for you. And you haven't had that history, okay? And you're a first-time producer, and they might say, okay, it's our name, right? I want to make sure this works. So how did you manage, one, to raise the financing, internally or externally or both, and two, to get top actors and top names to work for you?
Thank you. So regarding the business side, I'll start with that. Being in the restaurant industry for very long, I was lucky enough to have some private investors that believed in the vision and were very excited about it, because again, and you know, once this movie came out, a lot of people said, how come? I get this question all the time. Why has it not been done before? So I think it's about someone taking the plunge. And again, it's not just about Bollywood being a big influence in Nollywood. Nollywood is also thriving right now. It's Nollywood's time. I think if it hadn't been for the COVID pandemic, Nollywood would be a lot further than it already is right now. The cinema industry was booming. Netflix landed in Nigeria. I mean, there couldn't have been a better time to be doing this fusion movie. So from the financing, it was a belief in vision, and I was happy to have these investors come on board who believed in me. And I'm really happy to say that they're very happy that they did. And then on the other side, a very valid question, what you said about being a first timer. It's a hustle over here, and I learned a lot. And I think, you know, I believe in the law of attraction. I also believe in the law of momentum, two big laws for me. And it's one thing to have a big dream and put it out there and sort of talk about it a lot, but the law of momentum is actually taking steps towards it. So I actually didn't have a guide or an idea of how I was going to do it, but what I believe in is you have this big dream and you have your next step. So the minute you do that, and every time you do one step, the next step will come about. So how I started this whole project is one of my, there's a little cafe near my house called Art Cafe. I would leave my restaurant. It was in the midst of getting acquired, so there was a lot of paperwork there. I would leave my home because of course working from home is great, but I wanted to have no distractions. And every day for 2 to 3 hours, I would sit in this cafe and I would brainstorm. And you know, when you have I believe in this a lot. When you're in silence, inspired thought comes your way and you find the next step. So for me, one of the next steps was hiring a consultant. So Film One came on board from the beginning. They're a huge industry here. They own cinemas, they're distributors, they're producers, but they also offer a production consultancy program. So this being my first time, you know, we sort of collaborated and I said, look, I need help with certain things. And that's actually how it started. I still did go ahead and make a lot of decisions according to how I felt I wanted to do it, again, given my business background here. But there was definitely the introductions there. And I think, however, what happened was with some of the bigger actors, it was beautiful. And I'm so happy to say, like someone like, I call him Oga RMD. He is the Amitabh Bachchan of Nigeria, and he is brilliant. And I think for him, the nostalgia was huge. Like we had a dinner together, we chatted about it. I said, look, this is my idea. I need you from day one with the writers workshop. I'm like, I need you to be the father. Nobody else can play this role. And I think he just got sold on that vision. He loved the idea. I mean, you should see him at the end with the Bhangra, so sometimes even people take a chance, and I'm just so happy that they did take that chance on me. But I think that they also had this, they saw the vision and they saw what this could become. And then in addition, we had auditions for Film One helped me with the auditions, which I loved. It was amazing to see the talent that came out of that. To pick Inidima, she was fantastic. That was a lot of, I learned so much. A lot of times when you go out there and do this, sometimes being a newbie is actually a benefit because there's so much passion there and you're trying to learn. And you end up picking, I mean, you have to take a business move, but there's also an art side of it. Like you don't always pick. So Oga RMD was the father, but when it came to certain characters, it was, I don't care how big they are, this woman or this guy is the talent for this role. So it was a good mix. And I did have a lot of help.
What a story. And a few takeaways from this point. One is you're doing two things which seem, or three things which seem very difficult or different rather. But what was important is that you're taking some of the advantages, things which you had learned, things which you had achieved, right, in your previous role. And for example, you talked about your business partners and financiers, right, from the world of entrepreneurship. So that's carrying them along. So that's one thing. And how do you create a bridge from one thing, what you've been doing, to something totally different, right? The second thing, and I think is important here, is the use of consultants. So you had this big vision, you were passionate about it, you learned a lot, but you also got in experts in certain areas to come along with you. And the third, of course, was the intentionality about it. It's not just thinking about it and dreaming about it, it's actually finding that space and time to actually brainstorm through the whole thing properly. And then, of course, people can see the vision. And I bet that not only did they see the vision, they also saw the real steps that you were taking. Thank you for that. We've talked a little bit about this, but I would just like to ask you, from your perspective, if there was one thing, Hamisha, that you would credit your success with, one thing out of all the things, what would you pick?
Really, I mean, I know I say this a lot, but me starting that workshop, because the big difference I feel with the restaurant and the movie industry, the two major careers I've had, is my mindset. These workshops sort of help me because, when you teach something or when you advocate something or when you train on something, you have to embody the message. And it would be hypocritical for me to come and tell you, okay, no, you got to do your gratitude every day, or you need to meditate, or you need to dream big. Come on, guys, go jump. What's your biggest dream if I'm not doing it too? So I feel like because I had this, it also built my confidence a lot, because when I look back at my journey with the restaurant, I didn't have that background. I wasn't conducting the workshops till the end. I didn't have that mindset, and I felt different. So over here, it was a balance between mindset and knowing when I needed help, for example, or knowing when I needed to delegate rather than sort of just doing everything myself. So I would say mindset coupled with these workshops. And I definitely from that will not stop these workshops, because every time I conducted one, I learned from it.
Hamisha, that's wonderful. This issue of mindset, and I think it's important. We need to start from the mind, and then you need to practice what you preach. And to those people listening, I have personally benefited from Hamisha's workshop. So this is one lady who really knows what she's talking about. Thank you. And we know it's not all smooth sailing. We know that. Can you tell us what were some of the toughest moments for you?
So some of the toughest moments, again, jumping really deep into an industry that I had zero experience with. I was to be the leader, being a director and a producer. There were two sides of leadership. One was the business side of it, which is the producer hat. And then there's the director side of it, which is the artistic hat. Now, I had a lot of experience with business, so I didn't struggle too much with the production side of things. But as a director, to be very honest, the first day of my set was my first day on set ever. if you can believe. So you really gotta, fake it till you make it to some extent, because it's like you need to show up and you gotta be a leader, but at the same time own that you're new. And what was amazing with my team is they knew that. And I think that is also where I had grown a lot. Maybe sometimes in the restaurant days, I was a lot younger. So I would sometimes act like I knew what I was doing when I really didn't. Over here, I would just say it. And I'd be like, guys, I don't know, please talk to me. Let's talk through this. So let's spend an hour, like I would sit with my DOP, the director of photography, because that is something I didn't have any skill on, the tech side of things. Talk me through it. How are we going to do this? I want that Bollywood glitz, color, light, all of that. So we would plan. And I think that is where, again, the production side, we spend so much time in pre-planning so that we could mitigate any risk, again, of me being a first timer. My DOP was also a first timer as a DOP in a movie. He'd done a lot of music videos. The production manager I hired, it was the first movie she'd ever done. It was Ruslan and Sujata's first English speaking movie. It was Inidima's first Hindi movie, fusion movie. So every single one of us there was having a first. So I think we were all able to relate with each other. But it was still tough. As much as, now looking back and looking at the wonderful result, there were days I would come home in tears. Of course, I would, come home and it would be middle of the night and I would be like, oh, I'm exhausted because, I wasn't used to the 14, 15-hour days either. And in this case, I'd also at some points, I was in the movie. So there were days where I would be directing and producing, but I would come home in the middle of the night and need to memorize my lines for the next day. So some of those struggles did come up, balancing time, because if like I had a role, for example, I was on the boardroom for one of the scenes. And because I wasn't able to be behind the scenes and like, come on guys, let's hurry up, let's move. We ended up staying at the Radisson till 11:30, where we were meant to leave by 9. And I couldn't leave my spot on the boardroom. So I was watching and looking around and I couldn't leave to be like, come on guys, where's the makeup artist? Where's the costume designer? We need to move because we need to get out of here. So I found that a bit challenging. And on top of that, having to do the makeup and sort of balancing all that. Looking back, love it. Of course, I would do some things very differently. But yes, definitely the process of being a leader in a position where I knew very little was a challenge.
Hamisha, I must tell people listening, and this is a bit that we missed out. Not only were you producer and director, you actually acted in your own movie as well. Fantastic. But one of the learning points I think here, and it's very important. You said fake it till you make it, but it isn't an empty statement. And one thing that is clear to us here is that you were very aware of your strengths and also aware of the areas where you didn't have that knowledge, and you actually sought, right, to understand, to grow, to get people who knew that and to learn. And I think that's very, very important, that self-awareness. Okay. Now, so the movie comes out. I remember, I think maybe it was on Valentine's Day, and a week before or 2 weeks before, I can't remember. I remember sending a message and saying, Hamisha, please send me some more information. We're ready so that we can share with our network, right? And so for people who knew about the movie, who had read, seen CNN, CNN Africa talk about it, we were excited. But at the same time, we were within the sort of closed network, right? And it was the excitement of it. But the question here is, how did you feel with that validation when you saw the Netflix rating? And that was amazing.
So I'm still in shock, to be very honest. I'm still sort of letting it all come in. I think now is my time to get a little quiet, to sort of really register. I was very overwhelmed, very excited, but there's so many ups and downs, right? Because it's such a pivotal moment. It's still sometimes, I'm sure you can see on my face, it's still shocking to know that the potential, Netflix, I think, has a user of 203 million people currently. So the potential of how many were exposed to this movie. When we started, we had no idea. We were meant to go to cinema, and then we would have gone possibly to Netflix after and do a very traditional distribution. But when you become an original, there's a completely different way things are perceived, the way they market it, the way it was pushed out to the world. It was, shocking, overwhelmed. Though I won't lie, a tiny part of me while I was shooting the movie believed this was going to go far. as much as I was scared, as much as I was like, oh, maybe this is not perfect. And of course, I look back and when I watch it and when I was sitting in the editing room with my editor, I realized the mistakes I made. But sometimes, when you put passion into something and you just do your best, you do what you can within your means, it had to go, right? And I think that also another big learning I had from this is when you put positive messages into the world, or you put it into your piece of work, or even if it's subtle, subliminal, whatever you do, I think it's meant to go further, and there's a higher power pushing it. So excited, grateful, happy, a little bit feeling the pressure as to what's next. How do I beat that?
Well, congratulations, Hamisha. Honestly, we're really delighted. And, I think that you're right. At the end of the day, it's your first time, your first movie, even if it's your 10th movie, okay, you're not sure what the response would be. But at the end of the day, you're doing it because you believe in this. So there must be some part of you that says, I believe in this, right? And you're hoping that it will be a success because you believe in it. And what a success. Now, just another little item. We loved it. It was a success. But as with everything, how did you react to the criticisms? And this is your baby after all.
Oh, so that was tough. If I had to put a second pointer, when you asked me the toughest point, the second was that it was a bit of a shock, again, a shock to the system on a flip side completely. I had no idea how big, and I had luckily, again, I have such a good network. One of my partners is a famous rap artist. A lot of my actors are very famous. They've been out in the public world. This was the first for me. So it was brilliant to have that support and be able to turn to them at a time where I didn't understand trolls. I didn't understand when these tweets would come out. Sometimes, look, I'm all about constructive criticism, and I think that that's very important. But of course, there's a lot of hate out there. And, I like to bubble myself with my workshop and the positivity. But we are in a real world. We are in real life. And so, of course, the first 2-3 days when that all came in, it was a passion, it was a project, it was a baby. And it's like, at this point, I represented this, I still believe in it. But when people send hate that way, it took me a while to adjust to it. But then I had like a wise friend tell me that, what, no one's going to like everything you do in life. At the end of the day, it's a piece of art. It's a project you put out there. We're not the same, like someone will look at it and be like, this is such a joke. And someone will look at it and be like, this changed my life. And it's something you've got to learn. And in order to progress, in order to do more, I think artists are really brave. I've learned that as well, because you are in a public place. I do understand now where, my rap artist friend, his name is MI, by the way, I'm just going to open up, and he's like, you need to go on a yoga retreat after this. You need to disappear, take it all in. And I now get it. Because it's not physical as much as it's emotional, as much as it's energy. And so yes, I did struggle for a few days, but I'm back again because I'm still so excited. And I'm like, you know what, it was worth the risk. It was worth that little bit of hurt. It was worth that little bit of learning of what I could do differently. But along with that, and my Ini Dima actually told me, she sent me a message like, look, if you don't get haters, then you haven't arrived. So those little things helped. And yeah, I'm ready for it again.
Hamisha, thank you for that. And I think it's so important. You've put yourself out there. And when I say the real world, for most people, some of these criticisms come, in a quieter place. So in your work, colleagues, it could be your boss and all of that. But I think what you've demonstrated to us, two things is that with success, that comes with the territory. But also, how do you deal with it? Because it's dealing with it that is the important thing. I can tell you that I myself, when I saw some of those things, I thought, oh, no, you can't do that. But then, because it's personal, right? But then the reality is that we are used to it in a sense, but it's very different when it's yourself. And when it's yourself, you have to learn how to deal with it. So thank you very much for sharing with these amazing power women how to deal with criticisms. Okay. Now, another thing is that it's a lovely story. It's this love story. And whoever is on here who hasn't watched it, please watch it. But there's another thing, there's a deep cultural thing. And did you have an objective to the movie? Did you anticipate that these stories would resonate with people, not just in terms of it being heartwarming, but also in terms of people's own real lives, right? And their own stories that we now see shared all over social media?
So in regards to the objective to the movie, one of my major reasons of being director and being involved from beginning to end is I wanted to make sure that the two cultures were seen as equal, because we do have a lot of differences in the world. We have a lot of hate going on, as we just talked about. And it was important that both cultures are looked at as equal, because, you know, as much as we had a lot of fun with the culture clash, we saw how the father was very upset at his daughter and the mother was very upset at her son. I always like to say that the fact that they were so similar in their reaction shows how similar we really are. And that was really, my character actually had to say that in the movie. We are all one. You know, I said, Hum sab ek hai, that that's what matters, right? And that was my objective. That, you know, again, I infiltrated a little bit of my workshop in there, if you watch the end song. So as much as, yes, my purpose was to make a fun, entertaining movie, hidden messages. There were a lot of little hidden messages in there. I mean, some very subtle, some maybe people didn't even pick up on, but there was a line by my husband, actually, he's in the movie as well. A little old-fashioned romance didn't hurt anyone. And that one is just, I miss that, you know, when I know, that was actually where some of the criticism came in, that how is it possible two people meet on a beach and fall in love? But as much as, of course, that was a little bit, you know, far-fetched, the idea behind it, that it doesn't always have to be about what we are today. I miss the whole, you know, how people send flowers and the romance and the chivalry. It was just a subtle message that, guys, let's get that back, because that's the meaning of life, right? So those little infiltrated messages. Another one is I dedicated the movie to all my mothers, my mother-in-law, my mother, my grandmother. Those messages, if you saw the scene between Auntie Jay, that's Joke Silva, and her daughter, and some of the values, my mom would always tell me this, that you're not just marrying the boy, you're marrying the boy's family. So you'll see that in the lecture she gave her daughter. So that was my objective, that as much as I wanted to have fun with it, you're putting something out there. Let's put some positive messages out and remind people what we already all know, but let's remind them.
Thank you. And I must say, you know, I did have a soft spot for Sissy J, as we call her, Sissy Joke, Auntie J. She was fantastic, you know, as the mother, as were all the characters really. But one thing that I found interesting is that Namaste Wahala seems to have unearthed this awareness, right, of intercultural understanding, applied even to business relationships. I've read things talking about business relationships between India and, I dare say, Asia and Africa. Does that surprise you?
Not at all. I think that we are so, again, as mentioned, we're so similar. Our cultures are so similar. That we are I'm third generation Indian. I've lived here my whole life. My parents were here. My granddad was here. So this is home. So we have so much synergies. I know, like, India just sent vaccines to Nigeria. Like, we work together. There are a lot of Nigerians living in India. Nollywood loves Bollywood. Bollywood worked with Nollywood. Like, again, you see it. We love big weddings. We have such beautiful fashion. There's just so much overlap. So again, as we said before, why has this not happened before? And I had so much fun with some of the fun things, like the food. We love spicy food. So for my next one, I definitely want to do like a spice competition, the jollof biryani and the you know, aloo puff puff, like mixing everything together rather than being two separate cultures, having like the Ankara saris. There's just so much that we could do. And we're both, I think both our countries are such superpowers coming together. I mean, that's this tiny little movie, Namaste Wahala, just became a global change, and it's because of these two cultures. You know, I can't attribute all that to I made a movie, but I feel like there's something bigger, the conversations that are happening that are bigger, and what representing these two cultures. And so I'm excited but not surprised.
No, honestly, it was the jollof biryani. I thought, yeah, but why not? You know, fantastic. But tell me now, what next after this movie?
So what next? So this is why I'm having a little bit of silence to brainstorm. There's a lot of ideas, a lot of collaborations. I do think that, you know, I mean, we've gone global. We need to go more global. I am still mulling over it because I just sort of feel like the next step has to be impactful. You know, that's the word of the year. And I have a lot of ideas, working on a couple of things, TV shows, reality TV, movies, but definitely want to continue down the cross-cultural path, as well as positive messages going out there. I will also continue to do my workshops because really I attribute a lot of my success to that.
Hamisha, I must say thank you so much, in terms of this sort of intercultural awareness that you have brought out in such an overt way. And I think that this is one of the things that we need to drive our world. And, it's fantastic. Now, that there's one thing that we touched on in the first question that I'd like to explore a little bit a little bit deeper, and that's the issue about female leadership. Now, we know that it's in the minority across all industries, and especially in the film industry. And one thing you said right at the beginning was that you decided that you wanted, the star of the show to be a female character. And this is one of the things we talk about diversity in leadership. Because if you have diversity in leadership, right, that you have representation, and that allows to have diversity all through the system. But, so you have done that, and we can see the advantages. But there's a question. The question is this, but for you, did you find it daunting as a woman, as there were really very few role models to guide you?
I definitely did. And that is something that I have, maybe as when I was younger, I struggled with it. And now I'm empowered by it. Because, I think we're in a very good place to be women today because of something like this. Today, there's so many women groups. There is so much support out there. Maybe 10 years ago, I didn't feel that, and very daunted. And I always sort of think about that. And that was something I thought about even when I entered this specific movie, and also why I told you earlier that I would very openly say, I don't know, rather than pretend to know, because I did not want, being a female in my position, to then have someone say, what the old school thought of, oh, she's a woman, she doesn't know what she's saying. Or, I don't feel like that's even prevalent anymore, but that tiny part of me made me want to make sure that I represented well. And I feel like it's a responsibility for all of us being out there, hiring women, helping women, supporting women. And and I love that I'm actually saying this, the first time I've said that, I'm feeling empowered by it, not scared of it anymore. There are, to be honest, I'm finding in the Nollywood industry, there's so many women that are really taking it to another level. Even in the global perspective, I'm in awe of what Priyanka Chopra is doing, what like Shonda Rhimes is doing. I feel like a lot of those people who are putting out product, they're making sure that message comes across, and I think we need to do that for sure. We need to put women up there and show everybody what we can do.
I find that so empowering, Hamisha, because of course, when you're a woman and you're doing something which is new for a woman, right? There are not very many women, and that you feel that people might look at you, and there's that criticism saying that anyway, you're a woman. But for you, you felt empowered and able to say that I don't know and I want to learn without feeling that puts you at a disadvantage. And I think that is one message that I certainly have taken out of what you just said. And just one more question on this issue of gender equality. One of the issues, big issues in Hollywood has been the pay gaps between male leads and female leads. How did you address that? Did you find that there was an issue in Nollywood or Hollywood, the difference between pay between the two? And was it something that you had to deal with in this movie?
So Nollywood and Bollywood, for sure, there's a gap, and that is just a circumstance of the industry and how long Bollywood has been in the industry. And I feel like we're there though. With Nollywood, we're going to reach Bollywood's level, and we're not far at all. Because I remember, when I keep talking about the 90s, where we were in Bollywood and where we are today, I feel we are at that stage with Nollywood. So there's only upward from here. So yes, there's a disparity there for sure. But within the male and female within Nollywood, I didn't see it. Because I'll be very honest with you, and I'm not being biased because I'm a woman, but wow, the women talent, I feel like maybe I need more women in my movie. I don't know if I'm being biased, but there was a lot more women in the industry. There was a lot more, women producers. The amount of actresses that came up for the audition, the amount of behind the scenes women. Like, one of my favorite people on set was my script supervisor, and she was a woman. And when she couldn't make it, her replacement was a woman. So I actually find, and again, it could be my experience, it also could be what I attracted, but I had a lot of women surrounding me. Of course, I had a lot of men too, and I think men are brilliant. By no means do I not think men are talented, but I feel, from my opinion and my perspective, that in Nollywood, it's quite equal. And going forward, I think the more that happens, the more people will realize how much talent is out there.
Thank you, Hamisha. And the last question I have for you, as a trailblazer, what advice would you have for young women who want to break into a new field and how they can make a success out of it?
So I'm going to go back to what I said from the beginning and what I say in my workshops. And I'm like a broken record, but I will still say it. It's about dreaming big. It's what I did. I jumped and it was scary, but jumping scared, it's better to do that. Jump anyways is what I say. While you're jumping though, and that is something that I still learn and I'm still working on, is enjoy the jump. You know, my past, again, I used to focus so much on the future, and with my workshop and my course that I teach, I talk about balancing the two. As exciting as it is to have the end result, and I absolutely loved seeing the results on Netflix and totally enjoyed the moment that it was out, I still look back at the journey and I'm kind of glad that I embraced it. I'll give you an example. Like on set, I made everybody meditate and do a gratitude circle, no matter what. It didn't matter. You were the cameraman, you were the lead actor. We would all come together on a circle. We would sit around and we would all go around and say one thing we were grateful for, and we would all meditate. And that little exercise, because we spent so much time together, sometimes brought laughter and sometimes brought tears. But it was a real bonding move, and it's that I look back on. So there is truth to, as much as it's important to see the end result, that journey is so important. And I think that that's something we can actually do today as well. So please, guys, dream big, but enjoy the moment as well.
Amazing. Hamisha, thank you so much. Dream big is the message. Thank you so very much for a wonderful, wonderful talk. And at this moment, I would like to hand over to Tasneem.
Thank you, Dr. Anino. Sorry, Tasneem. Thank you, Dr. Anino, for hosting it so well and asking really, really good questions. Hand over to Tasneem. Go ahead.
Wonderful story, Hamisha. We are all so inspired. And I'm going to ask, there are a couple of questions coming in from the floor as well. So we'll just take them on. One of the questions that's come about is, I mean, you have captured it in a little bit. One of your answers is that one movie down, what next? What's your next project? Are you going to do another movie? What can we expect? And linked with that was that you acted in Namaste Wahala. And would you act again? As in, you know, is that something you think you want to do as well as produce?
So to answer your first question, I launched my production company, Forever 7 Entertainment, with this movie. And so, yes, expect lots of content coming from my side. I'm very excited about that. I definitely want to diversify. I love learning on the job. So now that I've learned about a movie, I am looking at things like the reality TV segment and TV shows, and of course, more movies. In regards to the acting, 100%. So that was actually my little secret as well. When I was 10, when I said I wanted to enter filmmaking, it was actually acting that I wanted to enter. So it took directing and producing a movie to give myself that little role. So for sure.
Fantastic. I love the movie. You did so well.
Oh, thank you.
It's really, really good. You know, one of the things that people don't talk about, but I know it happens in the background, in the movie industry especially, is there is a script. You had a dream, and you had a dream script, that you were working on. How much of that script eventually ended up being the movie? Did you have to compromise anything along the way?
So in this process, and it's not always the case, but in this one, because I was so specific and I had really specific ideas of what I wanted in there, the way we did the script is we had workshops. So first, I did my own private writers workshop with people that I respect, with people from both cultures, with people from the industry, to just flesh it out, of course, with writers. And then when I had my consultants on board, they helped me get the writers, and they were brilliant. These two Nigerian ladies, they were fantastic, and they just understood. And so we spent hours, we went back and forth, going back and forth. So basically it was pretty much tailor-made. And hence also where I feel like a lot of pre-production went into that. So I would say 90% of the script went into the movie, and we cut very little because we also had the consultants, and because I knew about the timing, and because we were working it from a business perspective as well. There was a lot cut before, and that was advice given to me as well, that tried to make it as tight a script as possible, because it'll only save you later on, and it really did. You never know what's going to come up on set.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, I'm coming from now an African perspective, being an African myself. The alpha male, that is a very big thing in Africa, right? It's something that we all women live around, and we live with it. How much of that do you have to encounter as you made the movie? From your writers' workshops to actually going into it, did you get any, I'm not going to say somebody trying, what are stumbling blocks? You talked about a few, but that typical alpha male is that, what are you doing here, woman? That kind of a thing. Did you have any of that?
This is a very interesting question. I'll be honest with you. I don't necessarily think alpha male, I sometimes feel even females are as guilty. So yes, I did receive a lot of negative. I did receive a lot of treatment sometimes. In the beginning, I did fall a little, because I'd be like, why? I know I'm new and all of that. But I can't point it out and say that only men did it. And I can't say that it was the male species that actually said, no, what are you doing? You're a woman. I think that we're equally liable. Women are equally liable in a case like this. It's a very sensitive topic, so I'm struggling to sort of portray my words, but I think that I dealt with that a lot, and maybe I put that to rest in the restaurant industry. And in the case like this, because I feel like there's so much female representation and a lot of females are doing amazing things, and we're now in a time where women are trending too, it is important, and women are showing what they're made of, and they're no more taking, all that, the nonsense that comes that way. But I do find that there are some women then who will tend to put other women down. And then that is something that I think needs to be worked on a little. So to answer your question, yes, I dealt with it. Yes, I faced it, but it was not necessarily only from the male species.
Okay, all right. Wonderful. There's a question from the floor that came out, is that, can you tell us a little bit more about your workshops? There are workshops that members even here on PW can join. Is it something that, you maybe have a link to share that we can share with everyone here? Yes.
So yes, it's great timing that you asked me this. I'm actually in development of a workshop that I'm going to be doing on Zoom. So I've inherently always done them in live with live audiences and groups. However, I've just recently started doing them on Zoom because it would be wonderful to reach a global audience. I have many topics, Pursuit of Happiness being my anchor workshop. And that is a full 5-hour workshop, which either with Zoom would be divided within a month. But I also have smaller workshops, 2-hour Zoom workshops. One of them, my favorite ones, being the law of attraction. We talk about self-care, we talk about gratitude, we talk about all the things you probably know but don't practice. And they're very interactive, and I don't talk as much as I make you do the work. So definitely something coming from my side on that, and I will send that information out to you guys.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And now we'd like to invite you, as you've so graciously said, that you can take us through a gratitude circle. So Simran, over to you. Thank you, Hamisha.
You're welcome.
Tasneem, you'll stay in the circle, right? So I'm going to add 2 people. So yeah. Smita, let me just. Hi, Smita, thank you. And Spurti, thank you for being such a sport. Anybody else wants to join? I think we can add 1 more person. Add to sport.
Yeah, sure.
Deepa? Okay, Nitya, I need to unmute. Sorry, I'll do that now. Okay, let's add 1 more then. Okay.
So is this with okay, I'm looking at it in gallery view. Maybe Simran, you can just tell me the names of everyone.
Yes. It's Tasneem, Smita, Spurti, and Niti.
Smita, Spurti, and Niti. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so gratitude circle, what we did on set, what I do in life, and what I advocate everyone should go home and do today is very basic, very simple, is write 10 things you're grateful for every day. That's just an exercise. I treat it like my shower. If you can shower every day, you can do your gratitude every day. And it helps you appreciate what you have in life, because what you appreciate appreciates. And as I said earlier, I struggled a little bit with dreaming big a lot and not enjoying the moment. And this gratitude circle really helps me enjoy the moment and enjoy being present. So I'm going to just jump right in. I'll start. Each of us are going to just say one thing we're grateful for. I'll say what I'm grateful for, and then I'll pass it to somebody else. And then we'll each do that. And then you pass it to someone else. So what I'm going to say, I'm very, very grateful for this seminar today. I feel like there was a deep dive. Dr. Anina, you were wonderful. You helped me bring out stuff that I hadn't even talked about. And it's really nice to have you here and to feel like I have this support network. And I'm so happy to be a woman in this day and age. So that's what I'm grateful for. I'll pass it on over to Neeti.
I have a lot of things to be grateful for. I am grateful to the entire universe for just, for whatever the universe has done, for just for me being, just being here. And so that includes a lot of things, it includes the entire life. It includes the last 6 years, includes the last 1 year, it includes the last 6 months. Yeah, I mean, the very fact that I'm here, I'm very grateful to that. That's all.
Wonderful. So pass it on to someone else.
Neeti, who would you like to pick?
Okay. So, Spurti.
Thank you, Neeti, and thank you, Hamisha and Anina. This was really great. I am right now really grateful for my parents for keeping really hot food ready on the table so that I can have it after this call. I pass it to Smita.
Thank you, Spriti. Hamisha, first of all, I've seen your movie. It's wonderful. It's a feel-good rom-com, and I happened to bump into the movie. It was really great. So I'm happy to meet you today. What I'm grateful for today is, I didn't expect I will be part of a gratitude circle. So I'm really happy that I got this opportunity, and, I was just going to not be on a video call, just be on an audio call, and Simran just happened to chat up and say, do you want to come on gratitude circle? So I'm really happy to be part of a gratitude circle today. I have been practicing gratitude journaling, so I understand the essence of it. So it's really impactful. Thank you so much. And I would like to pass it to Tasneem.
Thank you. I have so much to be grateful for, but I'm going to say this. I'm grateful for COVID because COVID helped me stop. COVID helped me pause, and it helped me introspect. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful the immense support group that I have around me. That's my husband, my family, my pets, my team. I believe that we are never alone, and I think you have to be grateful for that. Because that's just, as you said, Hamisha, that's how you grow. Appreciation grows, it appreciates because abundance grows from appreciation. So thank you again for this wonderful gratitude circle and allowing us to refocus. Thanks again, Hamisha. Over to you, Simran.
Yeah, I mean, a very simple one, but a very handy tool to really makes you think and feel good and feel happy. I was just writing mine. I would just share, probably it's more generic and larger one. I'm very grateful for have had opportunities in life, good parents, focus on education. And I grew up in Calcutta, seeing you see in some parts of the world a lot of misery when you grow up. So I was very grateful for all the opportunities, similar to what Neeti said, like with the universe gave to me, and we're very grateful that a bit like what Tasneem said, COVID has given this opportunity to connect. And most of the women I know here, I have literally not met anyone in person. So very grateful to have gotten to know you all and bonded with you all over this last few months. Thank you very much for joining and coming on this journey. Hamisha, very brilliant talk. You know, we keep bringing in artists because just there's a different perspective, and we bring in people from more the corporate side. Of course, they have a different story to tell, and when you bring in people from the arts, there's always a story. You know, the viewpoint and the perspective is very different, and it's also very enriching. And just wanted to share that also Dr. Anino and Tasneem helped bring in so much depth. Thank you for your time. I love the law of attraction and law of momentum. So dream, like you said, jump, but enjoy the jump. So that is something I've taken back with me. Need to enjoy the jump a bit more, even with Power Women as we build, right? Mindset, practice what you preach. Wonderful, what you said, especially with your workshops. And then, of course, you had to demonstrate that you were practicing pretty much what you were preaching. And this one's, I think, my favorite, fake it till you make it. So you knew your strengths, you knew your weaknesses, you brought in all the people you needed to succeed. And I guess even in entrepreneurship, right, finding people, or anywhere, finding complementary people, good people. I think it was Steve Jobs also who said, right, hire always people who are better than you. So that's, yeah, another wonderful. And I think it was yesterday I saw one of the professors, one of my favorite professors from the school, business school where I studied. He wrote this thing about owning inadequacy. And that really connected very well with me. And that's kind of what you also said today. I don't know, and it's okay if you don't know. And to say also, it's okay that I don't know, and being vulnerable. So I think, yeah, that's another thing, to own inadequacy. And it's become a very good thing now with COVID that people are okay. We're talking about empathetic leadership and being vulnerable. So thank you for sharing all these nuggets. I have enjoyed this conversation, taken again a lot of points, and I hope everyone else who was here on the call has enjoyed. Thank you for helping us build the sisterhood, coming together and supporting each other. Stay connected. Those of you who don't know us, feel free to reach out at hello@Power Women. We do lots of such talks. And Hamisha, I hope we can do the workshop together on happiness, because that's, especially for COVID times, is very relevant. And thank you everyone for taking time out, for spending your morning, afternoon, evening with us. And yeah, have a good rest of the day.
I think we need to get a gratitude from Dr. Anino.
Yes, please. Let's do that. A good way to close.
Oh my, so much to be grateful for. But I think above everything else, it's family and health. But I also appreciate the power of women's networks as well, in terms of the support, especially at this time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And I love the smiles on everyone's face right now. So imagine doing that every day, having that smile on your face with the gratitude. So.
Thank you, Hamisha. Wish you all the best for your acting, directing, producing. Keep on being a trailblazer and, you know, showing the way, leading. And yeah, we're all behind you. And let's keep supporting each other. Thank you, ladies.